Hey everyone, so I know it's been a while. I've been super busy, but I promised you an update on all things Fani Willis, and I do have one. I actually have 3 updates, and I'm going to jam them all into one video. 2 of the updates are juicy and delicious, and the last one is going to infuriate you. So let's start with juicy and delicious. So you all remember that Fani Willis's office has 2 separate open records lawsuits pending against her. One by Ashley Merchant and her husband John, and one by Judicial Watch. So Ashley Merchant and her husband John had been looking for a variety of different things. And if you'll remember the horrendous testimony of Dexter Bond, that was the situation where the judge decided, yes, they've absolutely violated the Open Records Act, but we were still waiting on an order from the judge. So that finally came out on March 14th. And this is from Judge Krause. And I've put everything I'm talking about today, I've put it on my website, on my blog, so you can go click and read the documents yourself. None of them are very long, and they're really well written, so they're totally worth the read. But I'm going to read some snippets for you. So the judge determined that they had violated the Open Records Act, and Judge Krause awarded Ashley and John Merchant $54,000 in attorney's fees due to what Fani Willis and Dexter Bond had put them through to have them get things that they were entitled to, okay? So do I love that yet again Fani Willis has been slapped with attorney's fees? Yes, I do. If you remember, she got $22,000 in attorney's fees slapped on her a few months ago from Judicial Watch. But as a Fulton County taxpayer, again, not thrilled that those are my tax dollars that she's wasting on attorney's fees because she, Dexter Bond, and the other people responsible for Open Records Act aren't doing their jobs. But let's listen to a little bit of what Judge Krause thinks of how they've behaved. So she writes that the defendants or Fani Willis and her office failed to comply with the Open Records Act, and that their failure was not substantially justified, meaning that Ashley and her husband were entitled to attorney's fees. But this is what she notes. She notes Dexter Bond and Fani Willis's office were openly hostile to counsel for plaintiff, Miss Merchant, and testified that Miss Merchant's requests were handled differently than other requests. And then she goes on to say that Mr. Bond's handling of Miss Merchant's request in this manner indicated a lack of good faith, which should surprise none of us. It's just nice that the judges put it in writing that they don't like Ashley looking into all the questionable stuff that's going on in the district attorney's office, and they tried to stonewall her, treating her differently than other people in the public, and it came back to bite them in the ass. But then I love this sentence. This is a great sentence. Judge Krause says, defendants' failures were intentional, not done in good faith, were substantially groundless and vexatious. And I had a friend of mine that read this say, we all need to use the word vexatious in a sentence today because what a great word. Anyway, so Judge Krause, not happy with Fani Willis's office. Fani Willis has 30 days from the date that this was entered to make that payment to Ashley's firm. But it doesn't end there. There's more. Not only does she have to pay attorney's fees, Fani Willis and Dexter Bond still have to give Ashley the things that she's demanded and hasn't gotten yet. One of which is a copy of the NDA confidentiality agreements that Fani Willis is making all of her employees sign. And I'm very interested in this as well. Why do you need to make district attorneys sign confidentiality agreements to work with you at your office, Fani? I mean, we all are members of the bar. We're all operating under attorney-client privilege already. So what exactly are you forcing them to keep quiet about? Very curious about that. Also a list of attorneys that Fani Willis has hired and roughly their date of hire. This is going to be interesting to me with regard to why her budget needs to be so big. Who are we? What are we spending money on? How big is your staff? And then also promotional and rebranding material. And you would think, why does that really matter? But when you ask yourself, this is a government-funded agency that has a very clear mission. Why do you need to rebrand and market yourself? Why are you spending money promoting yourself? The office is what it is. So that seems like an outrageous spend of money, again, of my tax dollars. So I'm curious about that. So I'm looking forward to Ashley Merchant getting those documents finally from Fani Willis's office. So, okay, that's juicy update number 1. Let's move to juicy update number 2. As I mentioned, the other open records request is lawsuit is from Judicial Watch, the organization that has been looking for communication between Fani Willis's office and Washington, D.C., basically special counsel Jack Smith, who looked into the president. And They have been unable to get these documents. First, Fani Willis's office said, we don't have them. Then they said, oh, well, we have them, but we don't have to release them to you under the Open Records Act because they're either protected by attorney-client privilege or they're in the middle of litigation, that kind of thing. So this lawsuit is being handled by a different Fulton County judge, Judge McBurney, and he issued an order on March 7th, which is also up on my website, on my blog, if you want to read it. It's very short, good to read, saying that he is requiring Fani Willis's office to turn over all the documents that Judicial Watch wants to the judge. And the judge is going to do what's called an in-camera inspection, meaning I'm going to look at them as the judge, and I'm going to decide whether what you're saying about why nobody can have these documents, whether or not it's true. But Judge McBurney's order is pretty vicious toward Fani Willis's office. He says, this is great, after several non-searches, one court order, and at least one actual search of unknown thoroughness, the defendant, Fani Willis, revised her answer to, in essence, I do have records, but you can't have them, except this one record, which you already had and gave to me. So that's a slap by a judge, just a sarcastic slap at that. He goes on to say that what he's decided is there's no special master for now. And if you remember my prior video, special master is just somebody that is an independent third party that was going to go into Fani Willis's office, pull all those documents, look over them, and then make the decisions on what Judicial Watch could have and what they couldn't have. Fani Willis definitely didn't want that because, again, NDAs, all sorts of shady stuff going on. Of course, she doesn't want a third party going through her stuff in her office. But the judge is saying, for now, I'm not going to do that, but it's not off the table. He is telling the district attorney's office that they have to deliver to the court within 5 business days. And this order was done back on the 7th. So I'm interested to see whether the judge has gotten what he demanded and ordered and whether they've been able to start going through it. He wants all of the records Bates stamped. So if anybody reads this order and wonders what a Bates stamp is, basically when you're in a lawsuit or in a criminal defense, criminal case, you get all sorts of documents from different places. And they have different kinds of numbers on them. And so it's very hard for everybody to understand when you're referring to, let's say, page 17. It's like page 17 of what document? So what you do is you get all the documents, you put them in a big stack, and then you start at, the top document 1, and you just order them all 1 through whatever, 1 through 1,000. And so everybody's page 17 is the same page 17. That's all that Bates stamps means. So he's requiring them to do that. He's requiring them to identify anything that they think is attorney-client privilege and then explain for what attorney and what client. He wants to know for wherever they requested an email search, a detailed description of how her office did the email searches that yielded the 212 pages that apparently that they've said they can't produce, the search terms they used for all the different email accounts, and whether or not cell phones were searched. If they weren't, why not? And if they were, whose cell phones were searched. Then the court's going to review all of this stuff and then decide how to proceed. So again, the big question that everybody's asking, what is Fani Willis hiding? Okay, third update. And this is kind of the one that's going to piss you off because Lord knows it did me. We all know from back in the YSL trial that Young Thug and Little Duke is Martinez Arnold, had their property seized as part of civil forfeiture. Big discussion we've had about that. Where's the watch, Fani? If you know, you know. Martinez Arnold, unfortunately, just found out that he has gotten a default judgment on his property. I just get infuriated when I talk about civil forfeiture, but basically what it means is he was arrested, put into jail. Fani Willis's office decided to seize a whole bunch of his property. He got served with notice of this seizure while he was in jail, and he had only 30 days to respond. Something 45, but the law says 30 days to respond. And for a lot of people that when this happens to them, they don't even have a lawyer yet. They're just trying to get their legs under them and figure out how they can get out of jail. And all of a sudden, bam, your property is defaulted because you didn't respond in time. And unfortunately, Paige Whitaker, who's handling this case, as you know, has decided that he didn't respond in time. In fact, he didn't respond at all to this to this lawsuit. Now, I do want to make it super clear because while Ashley Merchant was his lawyer, she didn't come on until much later. By then, it was much too late for her to try to fix what had happened. So unfortunately, now the judge is declaring, yeah, it's a default judgment because he didn't respond in time. And get a load of what the property is that he has lost. A 2021 white Mercedes AMG GT, $4,126, a diamond Rolex watch, a diamond Cuban chain link necklace, a diamond tennis necklace, a ring, a diamond cuff bracelet, 2 diamond stud earrings, and a diamond tennis bracelet. All of these things shall be forfeited to the state of Georgia, meaning they're going to start with going to the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. So this is an outrageous part of Georgia law that I can't rationalize. But anyway, I do feel for him because this is, in my view, this is government thievery. So anyway, that's 3 updates on where things are with Fani Willis. Please go to my website on my blog if you want to read this stuff. The orders are short. They're totally worth reading and they won't take very much time. And if you do read them, let me know what you think about these judges' opinions on what's going on, because they seem like they've had about enough of Fani Willis. And since she got reelected, we've got a few years more to go. So I will keep you updated.